Hi, and welcome to the next installment in the My Guy Rob series. My name, as always, is Rob Mack, partner here at Kurlander, Burton Mack in San Francisco. And today we're going to be discussing depositions of the injured worker in a workers' compensation claim. This is mostly just going to be about what the deposition is about. It's not necessarily about the tips and tricks. That's going to be another video, or things for you to remember when you're being deposed. This is more just a breakdown of what the deposition is, what it's going to be about, and kind of the mechanics of the whole thing. So first thing to know is, what is a deposition? Essentially, a deposition is a sworn statement that you make out of court that will be written down into a transcript and can be used as evidence later in your case. This normally happens at either your attorney's office or the other attorney's office, and the parties will get together. You'll be there, your attorney will be there, the defense attorney will be there, and a court reporter will be there. And the defense attorney will ask you questions about your case. The court reporter, before we start the proceedings, will ask you to raise your right hand, swear to tell the truth, and the court reporter will write down everything that everyone says in the room and make a transcript that can later again be used as evidence in your case if necessary. I always tell my clients, essentially, it's the most formal interview you've ever gone through. They're just going to ask you a lot of questions about yourself and about the case. Nowadays, sometimes it even takes place on Zoom, so you might be able to do it from your home, but generally speaking, it's informal setting in one of the attorney's offices. The first thing to really remember is you just got to be honest, straightforward. Short answers are the best way to do it. But really, it's not something to freak out about. It's important that you be calm, you answer the questions the best you can. And so let me explain what topics they're going to discuss in a workers' compensation deposition. First, they're usually going to talk about your background. So they're going to know your name, your address, your age, who you live with. These sort of what I call get to know you questions. They might ask questions about your education level. A lot of these questions you're going to think, what do they have to do with my case? But the reality is, in a deposition, they can basically ask you anything. There's only a few objections that your attorney can make. So it's important that you don't worry about why they're asking you the questions and you just answer them. It's your attorney's job to wonder why they're asking the questions, what the strategy is. So the background questions, they're easy, they're straightforward, and you shouldn't have any problem answering them. Next, they often ask you about your employment history. So this will be jobs you had prior to the job you got hurt at, or maybe even jobs you've had after, if you've changed jobs. But they're also going to ask you about the particular job you were working when you got hurt. They're going to want to know what you do on a day-to-day basis. They're going to want to know what the job requires in terms of lifting, carrying, standing, those sort of things. And they're also going to want to know how it makes sense that someone with the job that you had got injured. So it's important that you think about, okay, what do I do on a typical day at my job? What was I doing when I got hurt? And just kind of explain your day-to-day about the job. Next, they're probably going to ask you about the specific day in which you got hurt. So they're going to ask about the actual events that caused you to get hurt. And that's why, again, it's important that when you're describing your job, that it makes sense that someone could get hurt in the way that you got hurt at your job. Next, they're probably going to ask about your medical treatment. Now, this is usually the bulk of the deposition in the workers' compensation area, because they're not only going to ask you about the medical treatment that you got after you got hurt, but oftentimes they'll ask you about the medical treatment you got before you got hurt, especially if you have injured that body part previously. And everyone has a medical history, especially if you're above 40 or 50 years old. So they might have a lot of records to go through and ask you a lot of questions about your previous medical history. Again, as I said before, they can basically ask you anything that they want. And my clients oftentimes get very upset that they're going through this whole medical history. They're asking, what does this have to do with my case that happened years ago? The reality is they have the right to ask you these questions. So you just do your best. And if you don't remember the answers because the injury happened 20 years ago, just say you don't remember. That's fine. But medical treatment before the injury, after the injury is going to be the biggest part. Even though they have your medical records from the workers' comp injury itself, the treatment you received after the workers' comp injury, they're still going to ask you about it. The reason for that is they want to know if there's any doctors who you've seen that they don't have records for, so that they can order the records and give them to the medical evaluator down the line. I have other videos and blogs about what the QME process is, so you can check those out if you want more information about that. And then finally, the last category, last topic that they talk about are what we call activities of daily living. ADLs for short. What that really is about is how the injury has impacted your normal life. So not your work life, not your ability to work, not your ability to lift, push, pull at your job, but how it affects you on a day-to-day basis. One of the biggest complaints my clients have is about sleeping. So this would be a time to talk about that, or how far you can walk, can you exercise, are there any hobbies that you have that you can't do anymore? Are you having trouble taking care of yourself? Are you having trouble taking care of your children, your spouse? These sort of things, because the evaluating doctor, the QME, is going to have to consider how the injury affects your regular life, not just your work life, when they make a decision about the final diagnosis, prognosis, permanent disability rating, those sort of things. So those are the main topics that they're going to cover. Again, background, get to know you questions, your employment, both your employment history and the job you had when you were hurt, how you actually got hurt, what medical treatment you received both before and after the injury, and then finally how the injury has impacted your normal life, what we call activities of daily living. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy all the other videos in the My Guy Rob series. Again, my name is Robert Mack, partner here at Kurlander, Burton Mack in San Francisco, and I hope you subscribe to my other videos, and I hope you have a wonderful day.